Can I vent to you for a minute? I hate AI. God, I hate AI so much. Not only is it killing the planet, but it's also killing the vibe. You know, it is encroaching into every aspect of our lives against our will. It's in movies, it's in music, it's in museums somehow. Social media is basically a minefield. My rental company is AI. What do you mean? What are we even doing? And that's why I've been so bummed out at the amount of chainmail AI slop that has come across my desk recently. Ugh, it hurts my heart. But instead of wallowing in my disappointment and bummed outness, I have decided to fight back. My plan is to take back the chainmail projects that could have been made in real life with real hands and a real human brain. As for my first victim, this is the slop that I will be transforming today. As you can see, AI can't quite get chainmail right. You can always tell a chainmail AI image because it kind of just looks like a chain link fence. All right, let's get to work. The first thing we're going to tackle is the chainmail section, because I have all of this stainless steel wire that has been itching to get used, which means I am making my own rings. For this process, all I'm going to use is a drill, some pliers, the wire, and these dowels. These are actually not meant for what I'm using them for. These are a transfer punch set. Mine is all rusty because I accidentally left it under a plant, so just ignore that. You can get dowels that are specifically made for chainmail, but I just found this to be the cheapest method and it works for me. Let me walk you through my process. Like I said before, the dowels that I have aren't specifically meant for this process. If you get chainmail specific dowels, they'll have a hole in the bottom so that you can put your wire through and it'll coil easier. But since I don't have that, my method is to just do a little bend at the top of the wire, fold that 90 degrees, so that it should end up looking like this, just a little loop at the end. And then you can take the pointy end of the dowel and put it right where that loop is, and then take that and put it right into the drill. Once it's nice and tight, hold the wire firmly in place and let the drill do the work. And then once you take the dowel out, you're left with this nice coil that you can then cut up into rings. And that's all there is to it, really. Finished cutting up all the rings last night, and it was a huge reminder of why I don't cut my own rings anymore. Each one of those coils takes 5 minutes to cut ring by ring. I am so happy to be done, and now we can finally move on to making the actual chainmail itself. This is our progress after about 3 hours. My hands are getting a little sore, so I'm gonna take a break and we can talk about the actual design. I wanted to make a little sample sheet so I could figure out the angles. When you're looking at the reference, the top of the mail has a bit of a wider angle. So the plan is to do my 4-in-1 vertically. There's a bit of a different angle depending on which way you put your mail. Actually, let me show you the difference between the horizontal and the vertical angles so you can actually understand what I'm talking about. So for example, the piece on the left is a vertical orientation and the piece on the right is a horizontal orientation. As you can see, the angle on the left is a little bit wider than the angle on the right. The reason for this difference is that chainmail only stretches in one direction. So if you're putting something vertically, it's only going to stretch up and down, and if you're putting something horizontally, it's only going to stretch left to right. And the orientation just leads to minor differences in the way that it stretches. For something that you want to be put over your head or something that needs a little extra space in the body, usually horizontal is recommended. But if you want something a little more structured, you can go vertically. It's kind of the same thing when you use stretch fabric. It just depends on what pattern you're using. I guess I'm just gonna keep trucking along tonight with the 4-in-1. I'm gonna see if I can finish one of the angled segments. I will check in with you in the morning with a full progress report. Wish me luck. So this morning I just finalized the angles that I want for the main chainmail section. I'm really happy with how the shape turned out, but I feel like I'm at a point now where I just need to have a little think. So I'm gonna do a bit of a brainstorming session just to figure out how exactly I want to construct this piece, and then we'll go from there. Let's make a mock-up. Obviously, I'm gonna extend this side. You can see how much more space I have to fill. I did a quick little paper mock-up to try to figure out the sizing and the angles. So something like that. That size actually like perfectly matches up with the chainmail, which is incredible. I do think I want this metal section to go all the way around. This bottom section kind of starts like right here. Something like that. Is that the same angle as the top? What I'm gonna do is just a flip version of this because that actually like perfectly matches up. So I know that this is like the roughest draft of all time, but I think this gives me kind of a better idea of what I want to do next. I was thinking of just jumping into the chainmail section down here, but I think it's more important to situate this metal part here, which makes me very nervous. I got a like cooking pan from the thrift store and I was gonna chop that up and just kind of shape it and curve it. If I get it out of the way, I feel like that'll give me a good energy burst for the rest of the chainmail. Okay, I have to stop procrastinating now. Let's get back to work.
Once I was happy with the size of the metal plate, I marked out the shape with a Sharpie and then attempted to cut the piece out with bolt cutters. And it went as good as you might expect.
That doesn't even cut through. All that did was just kind of bend it a bit. I kind of had a feeling that that wasn't gonna work. I guess my task for today has been decided for me. I'm gonna just work on the chainmail the rest of the day, and then we can do a little hardware store trip tomorrow to try to figure out what to use to cut this. I actually might call my dad and see what he says because I don't really know what I'm looking for and he usually knows what to suggest. I'm gonna give him a call. I'm back from the hardware store, so let me show you what I got. Most importantly, I bought aviation snips, and then I got a metal file. I did buy gloves just to be safe. I'm not sure how sharp the metal's gonna get, but I just don't wanna cut myself. As far as decorative stuff goes, I also got these furniture nails, which I'm gonna use for rivets. And then for the border, for like that twisted metal looking thing, I just bought this twist cord, which I'm just gonna paint gray and hope that it sells the illusion. I'm a little nervous and I hope that this goes well, but I also know that I do have extra material, so if I mess this up, I can give it a second try. I guess let's just see how this goes. All right, we got this. Oh yeah, baby. It's like butter. You have to trust the process, I'm telling you. Huh? That's not bad. I'm totally pleased with that. I think that looks great. Okay, let's file this down. In addition to the filing, I did just go over it with just regular sandpaper. I probably should have gotten 2 different files, a coarse and a fine, but I actually think the sandpaper did a good job. Everything is nice and smooth, nothing to catch my skin or my clothes on. It definitely looks a little messy, but it does the job. I kind of want to muck up the metal just a little bit and add some hammer marks and maybe some more like scratches with the sandpaper. You know, I want it to look a little battle worn. Yeah, I'm happy with it. Let's move on.
To soften the blows a bit, I wrapped my hammer in some scrap cloth. I'm not sure if this made a difference, but it made sense to me at the time. After the piece was hammered, I went to town with the sandpaper and tried to make the metal look as beat up as possible.
Does it look kind of like a metal tortilla? Or is that just me? This came out so good. I actually have a lot of anxiety trying new things. It's really hard for me to force myself to experiment with new techniques. If I don't think I'm gonna be perfect at something immediately, it's really hard for me to try it. I don't know what that's about, but I don't have a very kind inner monologue sometimes. So being able to do something like this, which may seem small to you, feels really monumental to me. That's why I've been trying so hard to try things I've never done before, kind of just like immersion therapy. There are so many creative things that I want to try, and I don't want to be the one that's holding myself back. So pushing myself to try new things and try new techniques is really important to me. I think that's another reason why the rise of AI, specifically generative AI, has bothered me so much. Learning and being creative and exercising your mind is so important. I really think that creativity is the cornerstone of being a human being. It's just something I don't want us to lose. I don't want to sound too preachy, but this is important to me. Anyway, let's get back to the project.
Since I needed something to attach the chainmail to on the metal sheet, I opted to add a foam backing from packing materials that I've collected. This way, I could stitch the mail directly to the back. Once the shape was cut out, I used a spray adhesive to glue the foam to the metal. And while I waited for the glue to properly dry, I got back to working on the mail sheets. After the glue had dried, I was finally able to see the mail and the metal together. I was so completely jazzed that I got a bit carried away the following day.
Since I had such a fun time yesterday working on my metal booby shield, I wanted to spend today just doing some more experimenting. So I'm gonna see what other accessories I can make from my leftovers. I had an idea this morning to make a metal eye patch, and I physically can't do anything else until it's done. I'm just gonna play around and see what I can come up with today. I don't know, let's have some fun. These little metal strips just gave me an idea. In the reference picture, there's some sort of a belt or leather strap along the edge, but I was thinking to match this part, I could add a metal section instead. I was just messing around and I made a little pattern, and I think this decision has been made for me because the pattern fits perfectly on the leftover piece of metal. It is too perfect to ignore. Okay, I'm gonna cut this out and we'll see if this actually works. Oh my God. I'm gonna be honest, I feel like I just blacked out in the booth. I don't remember the last time I talked to you. I do love days like that though, where I just feel the surge of creativity and I just forget everything that exists around me. Let me break down what I did today, just in case I didn't mention it. I don't know if I even actually showed the finished eye patch. I think the last thing I showed you, the pieces weren't connected. Maybe. I did the same thing that I did for the little strap on the arm, and I just attached them using the tacks as rivets. And then to cover up the tacks, I just used a shiny tape because I figured it probably wasn't great to have glue near your eye. I don't know if there's a eye safe glue, but I'm guessing not. So this is my safest option. And then I just attached smaller D-rings and put a little faux leather strap on it. I kind of was rushing a little bit and they're not super neat. So I think I'm gonna go back in and just hand stitch them just a little bit. I don't know if I talked about this, did I? I added just this metal strip onto the booby shield. I wanted it to be the same on both sides. So this angle here is the same as this angle here. And then once I figure out how I want to do the back part, I have something to attach, like a strap to or whatever. It was like a marathon crafting day. I will meet you back here tomorrow. Even though I don't have all of the components done, I think today I'm just gonna start Frankensteining everything together, mainly because I am getting impatient and I wanna see the finished product so bad. The main thing that I wanna do is attach the metal pieces to the mail. But before I do that, I am gonna just paint that black cord that I got so that it can dry while I'm sewing. Tomorrow I'm planning on going to the thrift store to see if I can find something for the neck section and the back. So I really wanna get the rest of the construction done today so that I'm ready to attach everything tomorrow. I'm excited. Let's get to work. Okay, I haven't looked at it yet, so let's see how it came out. Are you ready? I'm very, very pleased with that. Yeah, I'm like speechless. This is coming out better than I thought that it would. Once we add that. Huh? I kind of don't like this. Let me show you my problem. So if that were like that, right? Compared to like the metal sections, this is like such a standout. Okay, I'll have to do some more brainstorming then. I could just do, even that looks better. I mean, I also just have, this might be interesting. Something like this. In the generated image, you can see in between the two male sections, there's like kind of a thick curb chain. I can just do the curb chain along the top and then do it in between these two sections down here. I think that sounds reasonable. I'm gonna do some editing real quick and see if I can figure out a solution. I'm gonna try to attach this and see if I like it, and then I'll check back with you later. I'm a little bummed, I'm not gonna lie.
To attach the curb chain, I just looped it directly through the jump rings along the top of the mail. Now, I hope you don't like this too much because, spoilers, it doesn't stay like this very long.
I'm happy with that. I'm very happy with the progress so far. I am going to work on the second piece of chainmail tonight. I made myself a little mock-up of the pattern just to make my life a little bit easier. Hopefully I get that done tonight, and then tomorrow we can go to the thrift store and find the rest of the accoutrement. We're like right at the finish line. I can taste it. It's thrifting day. I'm hoping I can get everything secondhand. We'll see if I have good luck today. If I can't find everything at the thrift store, I'm just gonna go to Michael's. Let's see what we can find today.
The thrift stores ended up being kind of a bust, so eventually I did have to just throw in the towel and see what Mike had to offer.
I think about Joann's every day. Should I get actual rivets? For real rivets? Yeah, we'll do these. Make a decision, guys, quickly. There's no time. I have to go. I definitely didn't have the most successful shopping trip today, but I feel like I got a lot of components that I can make work. I did get a new cord that I want to try. For the strap, I got this mostly because I like the buckles. This was $90. What? I figured what I could do is cut it in half and use one strap for the shoulder and one strap for the back. Because it's black, I also just bought spray paint. I don't know if that will work on leather, but I just couldn't find anything that I wanted that would match perfectly. I also bought real rivets. I want to put rivets in the straps, and I just thought that my method was a little silly. I also got more metal. My reason being, I have kind of changed the design plan a little bit. So before we get to work today, let me talk you through my changes. Just ignore the cord for now, but the painter's tape is where the strap is gonna go. I realized last night that I really hate when things are tight around my neck, and I know if I have that same choker that's in the reference photo, I'm gonna be really uncomfortable. So instead, I'm going to have a strap come up around my neck and then attach to this edge, and then I'll also have a second strap that goes around the back to hold both the pieces together. I was kind of playing with the design a lot last night, and the reason that I got the sheet metal is because I've decided to add on a little extra armor. Let me show you the draft. I thought it'd be cool to have a little pauldron coming off the shoulder. I'm not sure exactly how I'm gonna do it yet, but I'm excited to get going.
Before I got too far ahead of myself, I did want to make sure that the shirt was completely done. So first things first, I switched out the curb chain for the new silver cord. I just used a transparent thread to stitch it right onto the mail, and it matched so beautifully. Next, I could start working on the leather. First, I seam ripped out all the pieces along the edges so that I could reuse them later. Then I did a test run with the spray paint to decide on the texture that I wanted. Since it looked a bit closer to the sheet metal, I opted for the smooth sides and then spray painted all the remaining pieces. Then I got to work cutting out the actual straps. To start, I just cut the leather into even strips to get myself ready for another marathon day.
Everything is gonna get done today. I have just decided. It's about 9:30 now. I'm gonna give myself until around 7:30. So that's 10 hours, and I'm gonna finish everything, laying down the law to me. The only things that are really left to do is just finishing the straps and attaching the chainmail. I finished this chainmail piece last night, and I couldn't exactly figure out how to get it to lay properly. So I'm putting that on the back burner for now. I'm gonna do the straps first and then finish constructing everything else. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of stuff to do, but all of the stuff I have to do is gonna take me a really long time because it's just a lot of like fidgety work. 10 hours to go.
The belt that I got has 2 layers, so I had to thin the ends down to fit the D-rings and to have them fold nicely. I did this for every piece and then spray painted them all silver. After the spray paint had dried, I attached the straps to the D-rings with rivets.
I have some bad news. After I don't know how many hours of finagling and stitching on this cord, I'm realizing now that I don't like it. I did have to do a little bit of surgery behind the plate part to try to get it to lay properly on the side, which kind of made it clump up weird in the middle. I'm just not happy with it. I think what I'm gonna do is just take this section kind of apart and restart. I really thought I was gonna get done today. Obviously that's not gonna happen. It's like 6:15 now. I'm just gonna spend the rest of the night kind of taking apart everything that I just did. Why are you fighting me? Okay, time to take this all apart.
Okay, I was definitely being a drama queen because all I did was take the cord off along the bottom and I was happy again. The last step of the day was to secure the curb chain that runs along the middle. I ended up doing the alterations while wearing the shirt to make sure that everything was sitting just right. Then it was finally time to move on to the pauldron.
I'm ready to make some armor today. This project so far has made me feel delusionally confident, so I feel like whatever I make today is gonna be good. I did do a bit of research this morning just to look at how different pauldrons were made, but I do think I'm just gonna stick with my original design. I did a little bit of finessing just to neaten up the design that I already did. I haven't necessarily figured out all of the details yet, but this is gonna be just kind of a vibe-based day. We'll see what happens. We'll see where this day takes us. And if it takes us to a failure, then it takes us to a failure. I don't know if that's the right energy to take into the day, but I think it's gonna be a success, and if it's not, then that's okay, and I forgive myself in advance. Are we ready? Let's do this. Is that not perfect? I mean, come on. Like, how beautiful is that? The only thing is I'm still trying to figure out how I want to attach this to the piece. You can go away, darling. I don't want this piece to just be attached to the shirt. I want it to be versatile. I want to be able to use it with other outfits and stuff. I think what I'm gonna do is attach D-rings with leather straps like I did for all of the other pieces. So leather piece with a D-ring on it, and then I'd be able to attach it to other outfits. I think I'm just gonna put the D-rings on the pauldron and just see if I can form an idea from there. I don't know. Today's like jazz, baby. I don't know what's gonna come next.
Once the D-rings were attached, I had to figure out a temporary way to keep the pauldron in place. Since I had some leather left over, I made 2 straps with snap closures so that I could take the pauldron on and off as I please.
Oh, did you think we were done? Wrong. When I went to the thrift store for the first time, I said that it was a bust because I went in looking for something that would be that extra accessory that would kind of just bring everything together. And thankfully, I decided to give it one last chance, and look what I found. This giant Nerf gun. I've never thought to pair guns with my chainmail projects, but because this piece kind of gives post-apocalyptic 80s movie vibes, a la Thunderdome, Escape from New York, I feel like it kind of fits. I've never customized a prop before, but I'm really excited to give it a try. Again, I'm just kind of riding the wave of me being confident in my abilities and having that audacity that crafters are known for. I'm just gonna ride this wave for as long as I possibly can and hope that I end up with something pretty cool. There is a heat wave in New England right now, so I'm probably not going to talk to you a lot because every time I do, I have to turn my air conditioner off and I'm already so sweaty. I'm going to leave you in the capable hands of voiceover Kayla, and hopefully she can explain what's going on. Let's get to work.
Before I customize anything, I first have to take this thing apart. What isn't shown here is me taking 100 photos at every step of disassembly so I can get this back together later. As I record this voiceover, the prop is still sitting in pieces, so place your bets now on my success. After the pieces were separated and thoroughly washed, I used my Dremel to get rid of all the logos and warning labels. I then went over each piece with sandpaper to get rid of all the glossy bits to prep for painting. All of the activities that I'm doing today require a respirator, which is another reason why I can't talk.
Because I sound like this.
I would just like to take a minute to say that I love weathering. This was one of the most fun crafting days I think I may have ever had. There really wasn't any rhyme or reason to my process, and I think that's what made it so enjoyable. I was just painting whatever felt right until I was left with a bunch of grimy looking Nerf gun parts. Once I was finished weathering, I went in with a clear top coat to seal everything and then let the pieces dry overnight. Now let's find out if I can put this back together in 3, 2, 1. With the last accessory complete, it's finally time for the grand reveal. We did it. I didn't think that I would ever get to a stopping point with this project. I felt like I just wanted to keep building and building. What started as just a shirt making project kind of transformed into like a character build. You might have seen a few pieces that you didn't recognize. I definitely got a bit carried away off camera, so let's do just an inventory check real quick to talk about all the stuff I made. First, obviously, I made the shirt, which came out so much better than I expected. Not only was it just like a really fun thing to make, but the final product I feel like is awesome. It's exactly how I envisioned it, and it's also really comfortable. The only thing that I was worried about was the neck piece, but I figured out a solution, which you might have caught. I just used some of the leftover leather and made a choker necklace. Like I said, I get really uncomfortable when things are tight around my neck, so having something that I could take on and off was a game changer. The next thing is the eye patch. I love this thing so much. This, I feel like, was the catalyst that got me off track. Once I made this, the wheels just started turning and I just couldn't shut that voice in my head off. So I had to make more things so the creative voices in my head would shut up. That's normal, right? The eye patch is such a cool accessory. I felt so cool wearing it during the final reveal shots. Another accessory that I felt like really brought the look together was the gun. Something about this just like lit up a fire in my inner child. Once I was done with it, I immediately went to the thrift store and I bought every Nerf gun that they had. Prepare to be sick of me. You can't really tell, but I did add some metal parts to it, like the rivets, and then I did cut out some parts of the metal sheets and just glued it on. I think if I didn't weather it so much, you could still tell, but whatever. I'm okay with getting carried away. Speaking of which, that brings me to all the stuff that I did off camera that you didn't really get to see. So let's talk about that. You did get to see the pauldron, which is where it all began. Once I made that, again, I couldn't shut my brain up. I just wanted to keep creating. Like I said before, it kind of transformed into a character build, and I wanted to make sure that she was properly adorned. The first thing that I made off camera was the vambrace, which is the forearm armor. It was just something that I could make quickly that would just be kind of an extra addition. And then I felt like my other arm was left out, so I had to make something else, which is why I made the elbow armor, which is called a cooter. The more you know. Oh, I also made the things that I put on my shoes that I showed for like 2 seconds. I don't really know why. I feel like that one might have just been for me. Another thing that I'm working on is like a gauntlet inspired ring hand set thing accessory
The one that I'm using in the video is just kind of a prototype, but I'm very excited with the direction that I'm going. If you want to try to make the same armor pieces that I did, I do have an exciting offering. For the pauldron, the cooter, and the vambrace, I did make printable patterns that you can download for free on my Patreon, and you don't have to make them with metal. You can use leather, EVA foam, or cardboard. This was just a pack of seltzer waters. And now it's a pauldron. I wanted to do a couple tests just to make sure that you could actually make them not with metal. So all the directions were the same except for the rivets. I just sewed embroidery thread instead of using metal rivets, and works just fine. And then for the straps, I just attached some twine. The patterns that I made are just for the metal pieces, so if you need help with the straps, just let me know and I'll try to walk you through it. I've never made a pattern before, so if you have questions, please let me know. I'm here to help. I feel like I've said that so many times during this video. I've never done this, I've never done that, which I think means that this project was a success. Even though I was nervous, I am really proud to say that I just kind of threw myself into this, and I came out learning a lot. Overall, I'm just so happy with this whole project. I don't know. I love to explore. I love to learn. I love making things with my hands. And I feel like I definitely proved that this can be made with human hands and a real human brain. During this whole project though, I have been thinking a lot about the implications of this recreation and kind of the morality and the ethics of stealing an AI design. It feels like such a weird, icky gray area. To be clear, I did not generate the reference image, so if you do find where it originated, don't go be little stinkers about it. Okay? Everyone be cool. Even though this is obviously a nuanced conversation, I am still willing to die on the hill that generative AI is a lame bummer. These programs notoriously steal from real artists every day, and they make it harder and harder for human creators to get a proper foothold. And I'm just speaking from the creative side of things. This isn't even to mention the environmental dangers, or the onslaught of data centers across the country, or chatbots, or the spread of misinformation. It doesn't matter how many times I'm told that they're just tools or that it's not that deep, because I know that I will never get the same satisfaction generating an image when instead I can spend a few weeks pouring myself into something, making essentially the same thing, and finding knowledge and confidence and joy along the way. All of that to say, creativity is essential, and the best way to fight back against our AI overlords is to keep exercising that sacred creativity that we all have. So let me know what you are generating with your real human brain. I'd love to hear about the skills that you're learning, what's giving you confidence right now, what you feel like you want to learn next. I probably want to learn the same thing, and then we can obsess about it together. And let me know if you tried the armor pieces. I would love to see them. That would make me just the happiest little bean. As always, thank you so much for watching and indulging in my nonsense. Stay safe, stay creative, and stay off ChatGPT. I'll see you next time. I love you so much. Those are for you. Little kisses for you. On every one of your little heads. As long as you consent.